All right, welcome everyone to today's Fireside Chat, where we'll answer some more community questions. Let's get started in a few seconds here, according to the countdown timer. Cool, there we are. All right, what's going on? I'm Doug Pitcanix.
I'm Eric Tang.
And we're the founders of Livepeer. This is our second Fireside Chat, which we're actually not sitting by a fire. We're in our office here in New York City. But basically, we take this opportunity to collect questions from users in the community and to try and discuss them and answer them. It should last 10 to 20 minutes or so. And this week, I think there's two topics we want to discuss. One is how creators and community members can use Livepeer today and how they can plan to use it shortly in the future. And the second is addressing kind of a more technical topic that comes up all the time, which is, does Livepeer support webRTC? And what people are really asking is, does it support kind of bi-directional communication where two people can video conference using Livepeer? So let's take those both. So I think we can start with some of the more kind of community-oriented questions. So one question from Chris is, Livepeer sounds like a great idea. Do you have an app coming soon?
Right. Yeah. So we definitely have an app that's working right now, and it's built by a member of our community. It's a desktop application right now, and it's built in Electron, and it should work in definitely Mac and Linux. I'm not sure if it's actually compiled for Windows at the moment, but
yeah, I don't think the node will run for Windows yet.
Right,
but I think we're getting there soon.
Yeah. I think it's not going to take that much longer for it to work on Windows. So that's the desktop application, and also another application is the web viewer that some people might be using to watch this stream right now, and that's just the world's simplest decentralized application. It's just one web page.
Yeah, I think I can just cut over to a screen share real quick
right.
and just show you guys the desktop app if you haven't seen it. So let's see. Cool. So I launched this by just double clicking an icon on my Mac desktop called Livepeer Desktop. And I probably shouldn't hit the record button because I already have this stream running. But basically you would just hit this record button, and what it would do is it would create a stream. It would give you an ID. You could share a link to the website where anyone could watch your stream. And that basically makes it easy for you to broadcast without messing around with the command line or anything.
Yeah, it should really probably called a broadcast button than a record button, but we got the spirit.
Yeah, I think that's more accurate. And then just to allude to the kind of the web app that Eric was talking about, what is our URL? media.livepeer.org/player.html. We have this simple bare bones viewer app. And if you ever have a Livepeer stream ID, you can just paste it here and press start, and it'll play the stream right in this box. And we're obviously going to do a bunch of work to improve the user interface so that it's a good experience and not just this bare bones experience.
Yeah. Another thing that I think is important to talk about here is that Livepeer is a protocol and is a piece of Web3 infrastructure that we think is going to be important for the whole ecosystem, and I think Livepeer has the potential of being embedded into many different applications, whether if it's a strictly video live streaming application or if it's a social applications that has a video component, and we're here to help any developers who wants to try it out and who wants to have decentralized video live streaming in their application.
Right. Cool. This kind of leads us to the next question, which is, okay, where can I watch the stuff that's being streamed on Livepeer? So this ties directly back into the previous question, which is there a Livepeer app? So the apps that we showed right now are kind of just wrappers on the infrastructure. They let you broadcast and then let you share your ID so other people can watch, but they're not like discovery applications. They're not social applications. They're not a destination where someone would go to discover new content. And so the question is like, where does that exist and should that exist? And I think it absolutely should. I think that's a perfect use case for one of the first apps that a community member should build. And a lot of times people think about Livepeer and they ask, oh, is this the decentralized YouTube? Is this the decentralized Twitch? Is this the decentralized Periscope? And the answer is, Livepeer itself as a project really is not. It's just the infrastructure that someone could use to build one of those things. But I think someone should build those things. I think if you're excited about decentralized social, you're excited about empowering creators to be able to monetize their time and connect directly with their audience or take advantage of censorship-free live broadcasting. I think those are the applications that should be built very soon. And we internally, like the small team at Livepeer, is focused more on the protocol and the infrastructure, but we can support and help with development of those if you're planning to drive it. So I think definitely get in touch if you're interested in that stuff. Finally, I want to address another question that comes up with this, which is we talk about how decentralized broadcast can help creators monetize their time, make money, connect directly with their audience instead of having a centralized provider, show ads and take all the profits for themselves. How would someone go about doing that within an application built on Livepeer? Not today because it doesn't exist, but soon. Like how does a creator make money by streaming through Livepeer?
That's a good question. I think there's obviously decentralized decentralized payment mechanisms that can be built into these applications. So a really interesting example that I've seen recently is this app called Leroy, and it's basically like a Twitter that's built on top of Ethereum, but they have this tipping mechanism that basically allows people to tip one another, and these are like very small chunks of payments. Maybe it's $1 or $2, where in the traditional financial infrastructure, these types of payments just cannot happen on itself. But within the decentralized ecosystem, it can happen. So for example, anyone should be able to build in either Bitcoin-based payments or Ethereum-based payments into their applications.
Yeah, I'm also pretty excited about payment channels, which is a technical concept that has been around for a couple of years, but is just now beginning to be implemented. So on the Ethereum network, they recently launched a testnet for the Raiden payment channel network. And what this will let you do is basically, if Eric is streaming and he wants to charge, let's call it, 1 Ether per hour, because his time is worth a lot, what I could do is I could just issue thousands of payments over the course of the hour, 1 per second towards Eric, but none of them would have to actually hit the blockchain. This actually can enable micropayments. So I can actually pay by the second, and Eric can collect that payment, and he can have confidence that when I disconnect and I stop sending payments, he can go and basically cash that check and settle up and receive the full payment. So I'd love to see the kind of pay-as-you-go application built on Livepeer that makes use of Raiden payment channels. I think that's a great hackathon project. There was a project called Streamium a couple of years ago built on top of Bitcoin that did a great proof of concept of this, and those guys went on to build the Zeppelin framework and a lot of great tech in the Ethereum ecosystem. So I think that's like a great proof of concept application that we should see soon.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, on the flip side of that, I think it's also important for people to be able to kind of pay just for what they consume, but not more. And this type of framework allows you to do that.
Yep. Cool. Okay. Should we talk about webRTC?
All right. let's get into it.
Okay. So a very common question or misconception that people have is that Livepeer can be used for kind of one-to-one video chat, kind of like you might use FaceTime or Google Hangouts. So people say, does LivePure support that? When will you support that? And that's a great question. Right now, LivePure is starting out with broadcast, which is one to many. So you might have one stream, whether it's an event or entertainment or what have you, and you might want thousands or millions of people to be able to watch that. And the technology stack that enables that sort of scalability is actually very different than the technology stack that enables kind of the real-time one-to-one or one-to-a-couple communication. And so people on the technical end kind of associate webRTC as the technology stack that enables the real-time communication. Eric, do you want to tell us a little bit about what webRTC is?
Yeah, sure. WebRTC is a browser peer-to-peer connection standard that has emerged in the past, I'd say 5 years, and it's gotten pretty popular recently. And what it enables you to do is to basically create a direct connection between browsers, right? So if I'm running Chrome on my computer and Doug is running Chrome on his computer, we're able to connect directly instead of having to go through a central party, and that's great because that gives us a really low latency connection for us to be able to have these types of real time communication channel, and so people have been asking us about support with WebRTC, and currently we're not. Currently, the protocol is not for WebRTC, but obviously it's going to be an important piece in the project, and I think it should definitely exist as its own protocol because WebRTC is really more about relaying traffic and making sure the bandwidth is available and making sure the connection is constant and stable, rather than this computation of transcoding that we're doing today, and that's the transcoding is what's needed for this one-to-many broadcasting scenario where you have a lot of users watching the streams at once. Maybe the users all have different hardware, different software. They need different they need different sizes of the video because they have different bandwidth constraints. But for the WebRTC use case, what's good that it's very low latency and you can do real-time interaction. But what's bad is that you cannot have very many people watching that same stream.
Yeah,
so
how many people can watch? Up to
8 to 10, yeah. Usually the quality degrades pretty heavily after 10. And if it's in the U.S., if it's somewhere else in the world, it may be even worse. So that really precludes people from being able to send that stream to a lot of people. So I think the perfect structure in the world is to be able to record our live session through WebRTC and then to be able to broadcast that to the rest of the world through this one-to-many broadcasting scheme. So I think that's something that we're aiming to achieve in the longer term.
Right. So our media server certainly could support the WebRTC stack. We just have to build that technology in parallel with building our broadcast stack. And that's totally fine and totally doable. Then the question becomes the LivePure protocol, so this network that's running on the blockchain that's available to encode and distribute your video. All the incentives there right now are aligned around this transcoding and distribution for one-to-many. And so if you look at the WebRTC use case where you just want to have a video chat with one person in real time or a couple people in real time, that's actually different things that you have to incentivize. And a lot of the reason that companies that kind of provide that software, whether it's Google for Google Hangouts or TalkBox as a developer solution to let you build on top, a lot of what they're doing is they're kind of providing the infrastructure that shouldn't be necessary if we were all on an open internet and all of our computers could connect directly to each other. But because they can't, because we're all behind corporate firewalls and NATs and different IPv4 and IPv6 networks and have all of these kind of challenges of actually getting our computers to connect and talk directly to each other. A lot of what those companies are providing is just these relay servers that sit in their data centers that we can both connect to so that we can just pass data between us through these relays. And they have all of this network address translation and firewall punching and kind of just have built up tackling every problem in networking and tried to make it really reliable so we can have a connection. And that's very valuable. And I think when we think about real-time conferencing supported in Livepeer, we actually need to either extend the protocol or include a new protocol that incentivizes people to provide that service and do it reliably with enough bandwidth, have low enough latency, and run the cutting-edge technology. And I think that works really well in an open, kind of incentivized ecosystem. I just think it's a slightly different problem than what we're starting at on Livepeer. And I think the best way for us to tackle that would be to do it in parallel with interested community members and collaborators who are interested in helping us take on that problem. And we'll get to it when we can.
For sure, yeah, and that kind of relates to this concept of a decentralized CDN, right? A decentralized content delivery network. And I certainly know that a lot of people in the Ethereum or the larger decentralization ecosystem are very excited about this concept, and we're also personally very excited about this concept, and would love to collaborate with people who are interested in working on this.
Cool. All right, so we're almost 20 minutes in, so we'll wrap up shortly. I want to fire off a couple quick answers to some other questions that came in here on the chat. So one of them is about 360 video. Does Livepeer support 360-degree live streaming for virtual reality viewing? I think we have some good news to report there.
That's right. So we have a community member, Chris Hopcroft, who just was this week was able to successfully do the first 360 video stream on Livepeer, which is very exciting. And you're really that's what's involved in that is having a 360 degree video camera and have the stitching software that usually runs either on the camera or on another computer that the camera is directly connected to, and take the output of that stitching software, putting it directly into the Livepeer network, just like you would usually with a regular video stream. Now, another part of it, of course, is in the viewing side. What these softwares do is they kind of like stitch the two or multiple images into one flat image that kind of looks funny. So you on the player side, you would need a player that supports 360-degree videos to be able to play that. Otherwise, it will look kind of like a stretched out version of the video.
Right. I think I can show the screen capture of the first ever 360-degree video through Livepeer here. Let me bring this over into this window. And there you go. That's a screen share of this is from Germany, the first ever 360-degree live video broadcast into a decentralized blockchain-based network. Yeah. And you can see, like Eric was mentioning, some of the distortion. That's because the viewer here isn't running the plugin to support the video, but just dropping in a simple plugin, and then this video would be 360, and you could drag around and scroll around, or if you happen to have a Oculus headset in virtual reality, you could kind of look around and be in the room with these guys. So that was great. Cool. So that's 360-degree video. Let's see if there's any last questions that we got here. What's been the most challenging part of the testnet launch? So yeah, we launched the testnet a week ago, and I think as I shared in a forum update, we did a ton of work to get that launched, and that was super exciting and made a ton of progress. And then we kind of met the real world, and once everything works fine in our office and talking to data centers on the open internet, but as soon as you have tens of nodes all around the world on different types of networks with different firewalls and whatnot, getting them to all talk to each other and do it in real time for live streams opens up a whole new set of challenges, and you find a whole new set of bugs. So it's certainly a challenge. It's not unexpected. This is exactly why we're doing a test net early. And I think discovering all these things now is great. We're capturing them, we're logging them, we're getting as much information as we can. We're kind of knocking off the bug fixes one by one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so getting the network stable and making sure the streams are stable, and you can run long-running streams and you can stream it to many people has definitely been it's going to be an ongoing challenge for us to be able to get all kinds of devices connected, and that's something that we're actively working on.
Yep. Cool. All right. I think that's it. Should we wrap it up?
Let's do it.
All right. Yep. Thanks for joining the Livepeer Fireside chat. This was great. I've recorded it, so I'll throw that up on IPFS and Swarm and maybe even YouTube. We'll be back every 2 weeks for another chat, so feel free to drop questions in our chat room.
Yeah.
And you know where to find us, livepeer.org, at livepeer.org on Twitter. And we have the Gitter chat room, gitter.im/livepeer, where we're all hanging out. So we'll see you there.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
see you next time.